On her wedding day, she discovered an incredible betrayal. Her fiancé and maid of honor exposed. The sun spilled golden light across the small town of Maplewood, where excitement buzzed in the air like bees around budding flowers. Emma stood in the lovely chapel, the lace of her wedding gown billowing around her, her heart fluttering with joy. After years of pouring herself into lessons and family, today was her day, a fairy tale come to life, perfectly woven together with the promise of love. Yet, as she traced her fingers over the intricate lace, an unshakable feeling tugged at her. Something was off. With a rush of adrenaline, Emma decided to take one last look at the decorations, her heels clicking softly against the polished wood. Inside, the familiar scent of roses mixed with polished pews filled her with warmth. She smiled at the thought of Jake waiting at the altar, radiant in his gray suit, their families packed inside, all eyes on them, all hearts aligned. But just as she turned to adjust a bouquet, she heard laughter, a sound too intimate to ignore. Curious, she stepped quietly into the side room where the sound grew louder. As she pushed the door open, the scene froze her in place. Jake and Lily entwined in a passionate embrace, their eyes locked as if they were the only two souls in the world. The sunlight poured through the stained glass, illuminating their faces, but it felt like darkness swallowing her whole. Her heart plummeted, disbelief gripping her like a vice. "Emma!" Jake's voice was strained, panic sparking in his features, but she didn't stay for his excuses. She turned and fled, tears spilling down her cheeks. The world around her spun, her fairy tale collapsing into dust. Back outside, her family's loving faces slowly morphed into concerned masks, sensing the storm brewing within her. Casseroles and flowers appeared like gifts from a caring town, but they only weighed her down. In this close-knit community where loyalty ran deep and unspoken rules bound everyone together, Emma felt more isolated than ever. "Did you hear?" The whispers began to ripple through the townsfolk. Poor Emma loved mass judgment, and the air buzzed with the double-edged sword of sympathy and gossip. Emma wanted to scream to tell them she was fine, but the tears kept flowing. As the clock ticked, she confronted Jake and Lily, family values clashing against the betrayal that shook her core. Harsh words spilled out, accusations that peeled back layers of insecurity buried deep. "How could you? You were supposed to love me," Emma cried, the words echoing around them. In that moment of heartbreak, her family clutched at hope. For her, was forgiveness possible? Could she rebuild? As she battled the questions, she felt the weight of the decision before her. Would she rewrite her story, or was she forever captive to this betrayal? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Time dwindled and Emma stood at a crossroads, the luminous chapel crumbling into a mere facade of her dreams. Would she find the strength to let go? Or would she cling to the memories of what could have been? The wedding bells, meant to herald love, now threatened to signal the end of everything she believed in. The town buzzed, waiting with bated breath. Would she step down the aisle or turn away from it all? The choice hung like a delicate thread, aching to be severed. Emma stood frozen, her mind swirling with chaotic emotions. Outside, the townsfolk buzzed like bees, their sympathetic murmurs ricocheting off the walls of her heart. How could everything have changed so fast? She thought she was stepping into a new chapter, one filled with love and promise. Yet here she was on the brink of shattered dreams, her wedding day tainted by betrayal. Lily's laughter still echoed in her ears, taunting. How could her best friend betray her like that? They shared every secret, every hope for the future. Emma clenched the lace of her dress, taking a deep breath to steady herself. Each exhale felt heavy, laden with heartbreak and doubt. "Emma, please," Jake's voice broke through her thoughts, his desperation palpable. He stepped towards her, his hands raised in a placating gesture. She recoiled, hot anger welling up inside. "You don't get to make excuses. You broke me today, you broke us." The pain in her voice cut through the air. It twisted together with indignation, forming an unbearable knot in her stomach. Jake's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. His voice faded, leaving a hollow echo of remorse hanging in the air. Just did? Emma shot back, her heart racing. That's the best you can do? You didn't mean to betray me on the day I was supposed to start my life with you? The weight of his betrayal pressed firmly against her chest, as if the very air around her had been sucked away. The chapel, a symbol of love, felt ominous now. While Jake stumbled over his words, trying to gather his shattered thoughts, Emma's gaze hardened. She had to make a choice, but how could she when every part of her craved the comfort of the life she thought she had? It was like standing atop a cliff, looking down into an abyss. The fear of losing everything collided with the instinct to flee. In that moment, Lily emerged from the shadows, her face pale but defiant. Emma, I never wanted to hurt you, she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. Then why did you? Emma's words slipped through clenched teeth, her heart beating like a war drum. You were supposed to be my support, my anchor. How can you stand there and look me in the eye? Lily opened her mouth, but no words came out. The silence lengthened, feeling heavier than any accusation. Staring at her former best friend, Emma realized that their shared history now felt like a burden, a weight she couldn't carry anymore. Time stretched infinitely as she looked between the two of them. The chapel doors stood open, sunlight spilling in, beckoning her with the promise of an escape. Part of her yearned to bolt from the pain, to vanish into the sunset and leave it all behind. But another part, stronger, insisted she face the truth head-on. She wouldn't let this betrayal define her. I need time, Emma finally said, her voice steady but trembling with the effort. I can't do this today. She turned toward the doors, the world outside feeling both inviting and frighteningly uncertain. As she stepped through the threshold, a handful of her loved ones turned to her, concern etched deep on their faces. She felt their eyes but kept walking, the uncertainty of her path ahead both terrifying and oddly freeing. Emma took a deep breath as the cool air wrapped around her. She could feel the whispers and the weight of their gazes, but she needed to carve her own path now, one step at a time. What lay ahead was dark and unknown, but perhaps, just perhaps, it held the promise of rebuilding herself. Back inside the chapel, the crowd buzzed with worry, and Jake and Lily stood paralyzed by their choices. As the reality of their mistakes hung in the air, the question burned brightly. Was love truly enough to heal the wounds they had inflicted? And as Emma made her way through the streets of Maplewood, the truth loomed like a shadow. Could she forgive them? Or would their betrayal forever haunt her? The sun hung low in the sky as Emma walked the familiar path through Maplewood, its warmth little comfort against the chills swirling inside her. She could hear laughter echoing from nearby cafes and families enjoying picnics in the park. A sense of normalcy surrounded her, yet all she felt was the crushing weight of betrayal. Her mind raced, each thought colliding with another, a barrage of what-ifs and whys. She had envisioned this day filled with love and joy. Instead, she found herself lost, adrift in a sea of heartache with no shore in sight. As she turned a corner, Emma spotted the old oak tree near the town square, its branches reaching out like comforting arms. She remembered countless afternoons spent beneath its shade, laughter mingling with the rustling leaves. It used to be a place of refuge. Now it felt bittersweet. Taking a seat on the worn bench, Emma closed her eyes, fighting back the tears that threatened to spill. She could still see Jake's face, the mixture of regret and helplessness reflected in his eyes. And Lily, her heart's confidant, standing there trembling yet silent, had shattered everything they had built together. Why? She whispered to the wind, her voice barely more than a thought. Why did you both choose this? The words hung in the air unanswered, echoing back to the depths of her soul. Suddenly, she felt a presence beside her. It was Maggie, her childhood friend who had always been there through both good times and bad. The concern etched across Maggie's face said everything. Emma, I heard. She began, unsure of how to proceed. I don't want to talk about it, Emma snapped, immediately regretting her tone. She could see the hurt flash in Maggie's eyes and quickly softened her voice. I'm sorry. I really don't know what to say. Maggie sat down beside her, offering a comforting silence, as if sharing the burden of Emma's pain without needing words. They sat together, the soothing sounds of town life gentling the sting in Emma's heart. After several moments, Maggie turned to her, speaking softly. You deserve better than this, Emma. Don't lose sight of who you are. The sincerity in her voice pierced through the fog of despair. Emma nodded, though it felt hard to believe. Was she strong enough to rise from this wreckage? But how do I move on from this? I thought I knew him. I thought I knew her. Maggie sighed, the kind of sigh that spoke volumes. You will. Just takes time. It's okay to be angry, to feel everything you need to feel. But don't let them take away your shine. You're so much more than their choices. Hearing her friend's words ignited a spark within Emma. Maybe she could find a way to not only survive through this but also grow beyond it. But it was hard to envision herself as whole again. Just then something in the distance caught her eye. A flurry of movement approached with purpose. It was Jake, rushing toward her. Desperation etched all over his face. Her heart fluttered with confusion but firmed with resolve. Emma, please just listen to me, he called out, breathless with exertion. Emma's chest tightened. She wasn't ready for this, wasn't ready to face him again. Yet, as he drew closer, one thing became clear. She had a choice. Would she confront him and demand the answers she craved? Or would she continue her journey alone, seeking solace in her own strength? Before she could decide, Jake reached her, his eyes pleading. I need to explain. The words hung in the air, heavy with the promise of revelations yet untold. What could he possibly say to mend this? She took a deep breath, ready to confront the chaos of emotions swirling within her. But what she didn't expect was the sudden appearance of Lily behind him, a look of determination on her face. Emma's heart raced. This was about to get even more complicated, and she had to decide now. Emma's heart skidded to a halt as she locked eyes with Lily, the very woman she thought she could trust implicitly. The familiar warmth of friendship had turned into something cold and alien, swirling tension thickening the air around them. She had imagined this moment would involve laughter and love, not this raw confrontation. For a split second, everything stood still. Jake's voice trembled as he attempted to bridge the gap between them. Emma, please. Let me know. Emma cut him off, her voice sharper than she intended. She looked between the two of them, feelings of anger and hurt churning in her stomach. What could you possibly say that would make this okay? Lily stepped forward, her hands raised as if to calm an approaching storm. Emma, I never meant for it to happen this way. I tried to keep my distance. Emma's words felt like daggers. You were supposed to have my back, Lily. How could you betray me like this? Tears welled in Lily's eyes, but Emma couldn't find it within herself to soften. The hurt was far too fresh. A part of her still loved the memories they made, but it crumbled under the weight of today's reality. You think I don't remember the trust we had? The laughter? The countless secrets we shared? You gave it all away for what? A moment? Jake's guilt-ridden gaze was almost unbearable to meet. Emma, I know I messed up. No, you don't get to say anything. She breathed heavily, feeling the burn of betrayal clawing up her throat. You both don't get to ruin my day, and then give your excuses like they matter. Silence ensued, thick and uncomfortable. A few bystanders glanced over, taking in the scene. Emma could feel their eyes on her, a myriad of emotions crawling into her skin: curiosity, pity, judgment. She wanted to scream, to run away where no one could see her unravel. Pushing back against the tide of despair, she turned and walked away from the two of them, the old oak tree fading into the background as her world slipped further out of control. She needed space. She needed to think. Maggie trotted beside her, cautious but steady. Emma, wait. Just breathe. You don't have to face them alone. Emma halted in her tracks, almost leaning against a nearby lamppost for support. But what if I can't? What if I can't forgive? What if you never forgive them? Maggie interjected softly, placing a hand on Emma's shoulder. That's your choice too. You don't owe them anything. It's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to feel lost. Just don't let it consume you. Uncertainty churned in Emma's heart as emotions tangled like knotted yarn within. What if she couldn't forgive them? Was rebuilding from this betrayal even an option? That question echoed in her mind like a mournful refrain. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across Maplewood, Emma pushed the fog of uncertainty from her mind. She had her life ahead of her, and this moment of pain was just one part of it. Suddenly, as the weight of indecision pressed down, she spotted a flicker in the corner of her eye. A little girl, no older than 6, was flying a colorful kite, her laughter breaking through Emma's haze. The simple joy on that child's face reminded her of a time before the hurt, when happiness felt light and easy. Maggie squeezed her shoulder. You still have a choice, Em. Every day is a choice. Lanterns can be lit even in darkness. And just like that, a determination began to settle in her bones. She might be hurt, broken even, but she could use this as a turning point. Today was only the beginning, a complicated one, but it was time to reclaim her story. As she turned back, she met Jake's gaze, but instead of anger, there was something new in her heart. Not forgiveness, but a quiet resolve. She needed to take control. Before she could second-guess herself, she took a step forward, feeling the heat of the moment. What would she say? Would she demand explanations, or would she draw a line in the sand for her own peace? Lily's eyes widened as Emma approached, and Jake's expression morphed into a mask of anticipation. The crowd watched, holding their collective breath. What came next would define not only this moment but the path forward. Emma inhaled deeply, ready to act, but as she opened her mouth to speak, a sudden noise from behind startled everyone. It was an announcement, loud and clear, that shattered the fragile tension. Attention! We're about to start the wedding ceremony. Will the bride please step forward? Emma's heart plummeted. Everything was about to change again. Emma's throat tightened as the announcement echoed through the air, rippling through the crowd like a pebble tossed into a still pond. The woman she thought she knew, the friend who had stood by her side during life's ups and downs, had betrayed her in the most unforgivable way. And Jake, her fiancé, her heart, the man she envisioned a future with, stood just a step away, waiting for her reaction. Emma! Jake started, his voice barely above a whisper, but she could already see it, the glimmer of hope that she would somehow understand. Rejection flared inside her. There was no understanding this time. The wedding bells were ringing for a romance that felt shattered in her own heart. Lily's face darkened, her earlier resolve slipping into despair. Emma, please just give us a moment. But why? The question broke from Emma's lips, raw and full of anguish. It hung in the air, heavy and accusing. Why now? Why on my wedding day? Unseen but palpable, the crowd shifted. Emma could sense their eyes, glancing between her and the two people who had just revealed themselves to be her greatest heartbreak. As she stood there, something within her began to stir, a dormant strength igniting into fierce flames. Maybe it was never real, she said, each word pulling her closer to release. A friendship built on trust and loyalty crumbled by a stupid impulse. Facing Jake, she added, you were supposed to be my partner, the one person I could count on. Instead, you chose her. You chose betrayal. The heat of betrayal curled around Emma's heart, but it was the fire of her own self-worth that now burned brighter. Emma, you don't understand, Jake pleaded, stepping forward, his hands reaching out as if he could bridge the distance between them. No, I think you're the one who doesn't understand. She shot back, feeling steadier with every breath. This isn't just about you and Lily. This is about me. It's my day, and you both ruined it within seconds. A part of her feared the loss of the life she had envisioned with Jake, but the other part grew stronger with every word. Today was not just supposed to be a day of marrying her love. It was a celebration of the life they had built together, and now it felt contaminated. Maggie stepped closer, her presence like a silent anchor in stormy waters. Emma, we can leave. We don't have to stay here and suffer through any more of this. But Emma shook her head. No, I'm not running away from them, not from this. The determination in her voice steadied her legs. She turned back to her friend and her fiancé. Lily, you are my sister. I can't even look at you right now without remembering the years we shared. All that laughter, but you made your decision. And you, Jake, she continued, her gaze piercing through him. You lost the right to be in my life. A long silence followed, the crowd watching, breath held, tension hanging in the air like a dense fog. Emma felt every pair of eyes on her, and for the first time it wasn't judgment or pity. It was understanding. I'm walking away. I am not meant to be your bride, Jake, and this is not meant to be our wedding. The moment hung in the air, raw and electric. Just then, she caught a glimpse of the sparkling white dress, the bride finally stepping forth into view, unknowing of the wreckage behind her. A wave of dread washed over Emma. What would happen next? Would she still have to live amongst these betrayals? Could she find a way to heal and move on? As the wedding ceremony commenced and the crowd buzzed with chatter, Emma realized she was standing on the precipice of a new chapter. A small whistle of wind traced the back of her neck, bringing with it an exhilarating sense of freedom mixed with uncertainty. But a voice in her heart whispered, "This is your moment, Emma. You get to choose what happens next." With those thoughts swirling, she turned to face her future, ready for whatever would come next. Emma took a deep breath, steadying herself as the music swelled around her. The bride, oblivious to the turmoil, glided down the aisle, a serene smile painted across her face. It reminded Emma of a time when she herself had dreamed of donning a wedding dress, surrounded by laughter and love. But that dream felt like a distant memory, washed away by the betrayal that clung to her like a cold shadow. She glanced at Maggie, who stood beside her, unwavering. "I'm proud of you," Maggie whispered, her eyes filled with fierce loyalty. It was a small reminder that while betrayals cut deep, there were still people in her life worth holding on to. "I can't believe they would do this to me," Emma responded, her voice trembling. "On my wedding day of all days." The words were bitter, a remembrance of hope twisted into something dark. The bride reached the altar, her eager gaze locked on a smiling groom who looked oblivious to the chaos unfolding behind the scenes. Emma felt the weight of every step she wasn't taking toward the aisle, every moment of love she had imagined sparking in her heart. Spiraling emotions surged within her. Grief, anger, and surprisingly freedom. "Maybe this is a blessing in disguise," Maggie pointed out, her supporting presence reminding Emma to think beyond the immediate hurt. "You have the chance to start fresh, to find what really makes you happy." Emma closed her eyes, inhaling deeply. Could that be true? Could this heartbreak lead her toward something brighter? In the distance, laughter erupted as the ceremony continued. Each chuckle ricocheted in her chest, a painful reminder of what she had lost. What had felt certain now felt like a dream she would never wake up from. But as she opened her eyes, she resolved not to let this moment define her future. "I need to get out of here," she finally said, determination swelling within her, drowning out the noise around. Maggie nodded, her expression resolute. "Let us go." Emma turned from the gathering, her vision blurring with unshed tears. As they walked toward the exit, every step felt like shedding a layer of grief. She could still hear murmurs behind them, the crowd questioning her retreat. But that didn't matter. It was time to reclaim her narrative one step at a time. Outside, the late afternoon sun warmed her skin. The reality of the world beyond those doors wrapped around her, a refreshing contrast to the cold mess inside. "What now?" Emma asked. Maggie took her hand. "Now we figure this out together." Driving away from the venue with the chaos fading behind her, Emma felt both terrified and exhilarated. The open road stretched ahead, each mile a reminder of both the unknown and the possibilities that lay before her. "What if I just drive?" Emma suggested, her heart racing at the thought. "Just keep going and see where I end up? What if I find myself out there?" Maggie squeezed her hand. "Then that's exactly what we do. Whatever it takes to find out who you really are beyond this moment of pain." Emma smiled, a flicker of hope igniting as they sped down the highway. But beneath her thrill was the shadow of uncertainty. What awaited her at the end of this road? Just as Emma began pondering local spots they could explore, her phone buzzed an unknown number. She hesitated. "Should I answer?" she asked, suddenly feeling a whirlwind of emotions again. Maggie urged, "Only if you're ready for whatever may come next." As the phone buzzed insistently in her hand, Emma's heart raced. She had opened one door, but what if this call held answers or more chaos? Breath-catching, she swiped to answer. What would the voice on the other end reveal? "Hello?" Emma's voice was shaky as she answered. The silence on the other end stretched, pulling her nerves even tighter. "Emma, it's me," a familiar voice broke through, sending another wave of mixed emotions crashing over her. It was Lauren, her ex-fiancé's sister. "What do you want?" Emma felt anger stirring thick and bitter as she gripped the wheel tighter. "I know this isn't the best time," but Lauren hesitated, a slight tremor in her voice. "I'm really worried about you." "About what's happening? Please, can we talk?" "Talk?" Emma scoffed, trying to mask the pain that throbbed just beneath the surface. "Talk about what? The wedding that never happened? The betrayal?" "Emma, listen, no. You don't get to say my name like it still means something." The anger surged, hot and bubbling, but beneath it, a small part of her throbbed with a desperate need to understand. Maggie looked at her, worry etched on her face. "Emma?" she whispered, sensing her friend's internal battle. Just tell me what you want, Emma said, her voice steadying despite the chaos in her heart. I know you're hurt, Lauren continued cautiously, but there's something you need to know before you cut everyone out of your life. Something you don't see. What could you possibly say that would make any of this better? Emma pressed, unable to contain the rising frustration. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Just listen. Please. There was urgency in Lauren's tone, and Emma found herself caught between wanting to retreat and the wild curiosity swirling within. Fine. Talk, Emma replied, crossing her arms as if keeping her heart sheltered from what might come next. I found out things that won't make sense now, but they matter. Kevin didn't just leave you for the bride. He was pressured into it by people you trust, Lauren spilled, her words spilling forth like a river bursting its banks. Emma's heart dropped. What do you mean? His parents didn't approve of you? Lauren hesitated again. They told him to back out, that he'd make a terrible mistake. It was never about you. Silence wrapped around Emma like a suffocating blanket. Confusion mixed with disbelief. And you expect me to believe that? I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. I overheard them. I should have told you sooner. I'm sorry, but you deserve the truth. Emma felt the ground beneath her quiver. Her entire world was rooted in betrayal. But could what Lauren said be real? Was she a victim of something far bigger than a simple heartbreak? Maggie reached over and touched Emma's arm gently. Emma, what is happening? I don't know, Emma stammered, her mind racing like a whirlwind of emotions. I need time to think. Lauren interrupted. Please, Emma. Don't shut me out. Just think about it. You deserve to know where you stand. As the call ended, Emma sat in a silence that felt impossibly loud. Should she believe it? Was this a lifeline or another cruel twist of fate? Do you want to go back? Maggie asked softly, concern in her eyes. Emma shook her head firmly, her stomach knotting with anxiety. No, she whispered. I need to figure this out on my own terms. But I can't go back without answers first. Determination surged anew within her. She turned to Maggie, her voice stronger now. We need to find out the truth. This isn't over. What awaited her on this new road twisted inwards, brimming with unresolved feelings and shattered dreams. And as they drove on, the horizon ahead seemed painted with uncertainty and the promise of clarity. But just as hope began to settle, Emma's phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. This time fear clawed back into her heart. Who could that be now? Maggie asked, glancing sideways. Emma's hand hovered over the screen, dread pooling deep in her stomach. I don't know, she replied, feeling the weight of every truth still yet to be revealed. Would this be another surprise or a step closer to understanding? Taking a breath, she answered. What new revelation awaited her this time? Hello? Emma's voice faltered, the tremor betraying the calm she tried to project. Emma, it's me. The voice on the other end was deep and steady, but not one she expected. It was Greg, a former friend of Kevin's, the man who had been absent when she needed support the most. What do you want? She snapped, her impatience bubbling over. I heard what happened, Greg replied, sounding sympathetic but firm. But there's more you need to know. Can you just let me explain? She felt Maggie shift beside her, instinctively sensing Emma's discomfort. The words tumbled around in her head, swirling like leaves caught in a storm. I don't want to talk to you right now. I'm not interested in more lies or twists, Greg. I get that, but this isn't a twist. I swear. Can we meet? Just for a second? I don't want to do this over the phone, Greg pressed, his tone almost pleading. Emma hesitated, her emotions crashing into one another. A small voice in her head whispered that maybe, just maybe, Greg might have something true to share. The anger still burned, but so did her curiosity. Fine, she bit out. Where? Meet me at the coffee shop on 5th. I'll be waiting. The call ended before she could argue further. What did he say? Maggie asked, her eyes scanning Emma's face for any clue of the news. He wants to talk. I don't know if it's a good idea, Emma admitted, trepidation gnawing at her insides. What if it's about Kevin again? Maggie challenged gently, the concern heavy in her tone. Then I'll tell him to go to hell, Emma replied, cringing at her own defensiveness. But a flicker of hope ignited in her chest. But what if he is telling the truth? About it not being my fault? As they drove towards the cafe, the streets passed in a blur. The familiar sights felt strange now. as if she was seeing them through a fogged window. Every part of her wanted to curl up into a safe bubble and shut out the world. Yet, the thought of answers kept pushing her onward. The cafe was bustling with life, laughter mingling with the aroma of fresh coffee. Emma spotted Greg slumped at a corner table, his posture tense. She felt a knot of anxiety in her stomach as she approached. "Thank you for coming," he said, glancing up with a mixture of relief and frustration. "I don't have time for games, Greg. Just tell me what you know." He looked around, ensuring they weren't overheard. Kevin's parents, they've been manipulating everything. His mother especially. She had it out for you, Emma. She wanted him to marry someone from their circle, someone suitable. The words fell heavy in the air, making Emma feel momentarily unsteady. "You mean they didn't want me because I wasn't good enough?" "It's not that simple. They wanted to control him, and that meant getting rid of anyone who didn't fit their mold. You need to know he didn't have a choice," he emphasized, his eyes earnest and wired with unease. A tangle of emotions hit her all at once. Anger towards Kevin, sadness for what she thought she lost, but also an odd sense of vindication. If this was true, if she had been a victim of someone else's plan, it might help to ease the sting left behind by betrayal. "Why are you telling me this?" Emma pressed, her instincts still on guard. "Because I couldn't stand watching you suffer without knowing the truth." "You deserve that much," he replied, his voice sincere. Her heart raced. But if that's the case, why would Kevin go through with it? Why wouldn't he fight for me? Greg sighed, looking distant. "Some battles aren't fought in the open. I think he thought he could handle it alone until it fell apart." Self-doubt began to creep back in. Emma's fingers curled around her coffee cup. "So, what am I supposed to do with this information? Find him? Talk to him? Ask the questions that need answers?" "You deserve that closure," Greg said softly. Emma felt a swell of conflicting emotions: hope, anger, betrayal. She looked out the window, mulling over everything Greg had said. But what if he still chooses them? The thought whispered like a cold wind through the warmth of coffee shop chatter. "I can't answer that. But don't go down without a fight," he urged again. Emma took a deep breath and shared a look with Maggie, whose expression mirrored the turmoil in her own heart. As Emma prepared to leave the cafe, her heart raced at the possibility of facing Kevin again. Could she really confront him after all this time? Could their story have a different ending, or had it already been written? Just then her phone buzzed again. Another message. Another chance for something or someone to alter her course. She glanced down, her heart thumping wildly in her chest. What now? What new path lay before her? Emma's thumb hovered over the screen, her pulse quickening. The message glowed with anticipation. "We need to talk. Meet me at the park." The sender's name sent a jolt through her. "Kevin." Oh, Maggie whispered, instinctively peering over Emma's shoulder. "Is that him?" "It's Kevin," Emma replied, her throat tight. "He wants to meet today. Are you going to go?" Maggie's eyes widened with concern, but also with a spark of excitement. Emma sighed, each breath feeling heavier than the last. "I need to know the truth. But my heart feels like it's twisted in knots." Maggie reached out, squeezing her hand. "You're stronger than you think, Em. Just remember, whatever he says, you're not alone this time." Taking a deep breath, Emma slipped her phone back into her pocket and left a few bills on the table. She stepped outside into the cool air, feeling a chill run down her spine. The park felt so familiar yet so foreign now. Memories of laughter and happy moments drifted into her mind. Could she walk through those gates again? Or was that happiness forever tainted? As she walked, her thoughts spun like a whirlwind. What could he possibly want to say? Maybe he truly wanted to explain himself. Perhaps he felt regret. The uncertainty gnawed at her, each step bringing her closer yet intensifying her dread. The park was vibrant, full of families and children playing, but Emma felt separate from it all, like a ghost wandering through memories of green grass and sunshine. And there he was, sitting on their favorite bench, unmistakable, despite the shadow that loomed over them. His head was down, but as she approached, he looked up and their eyes connected. A jolt of electricity and a flood of emotions washed over her. Pain, love, confusion. The memories crashed down like waves on the shore. "Emma," he started, his voice thick with emotion. "Let us not waste time, Kevin," she interrupted, surprising herself with her firmness. "Why did you do it? Why didn't you fight for me?" He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture that had been all too familiar in their past. Emma, I thought I could make it work. I was trying to protect you. You don't know what I was up against, what my parents were doing to me. Emma felt her heart crack open. Protect her? How could anyone think watching her suffer was an act of love? Protect me? By abandoning me? I never wanted to hurt you. You have to believe that. His voice was desperate, pleading for understanding. As his words rolled across the surface of her anger, the icy feeling began to melt, but the confusion only grew. So what? You just went along with it? You let them tear us apart? I thought if I played along they would back off, that they'd see my love for you, Kevin said, his eyes searching hers for sympathy. When I tried to stand up to them, it exploded in my face. My mother dug her claws deeper. Emma's mind raced, 1,000 questions bubbling to the surface. And what now? You think this apology is enough? I don't expect forgiveness. Just a chance to talk. To explain everything, he said, lowering his voice. Torn between the desire to hear him out and the voice in her head urging her to guard her heart, Emma took a step back, the weight of their history hanging between them. What if I don't want to hear it, Kevin? His face flickered with disappointment, but he pressed on. You deserve the truth, and I swear I'll tell you everything if you just give me a moment. Emma's heart was a battlefield, fighting against the hope that maybe this wasn't over, that maybe a glimmer of something good was left. But the hurt was still raw. Could she risk opening herself up again only to face more betrayal? As she stood there, the decision felt monumental, her next move shaping the course of her future. Just then a little girl ran past them, a flower crown slipping from her head, landing at Emma's feet. It was a small, simple gesture, but her heart thudded as if it were a sign, a reminder that even amidst the chaos, beauty could be found. Maggie's voice echoed in her mind, don't go down without a fight. Would fighting for the truth mean fighting to keep Kevin in her life as well? Okay, Emma said finally, her voice steadier than she felt. But you need to understand something. I won't sit here and let you spin things. Just the truth, Kevin. Nothing more, nothing less. He nodded, a flicker of relief in his eyes, but doubt still twisted in Emma's mind. As she steadied herself, a new message chimed on her phone, this one from Greg. Curiosity and unease swirled together. Something's coming, she said softly, bracing for whatever might be next. But what awaited her? The truth she craved, or yet another twist in the story? With a deep breath, Emma focused on Kevin's face, every line etched with remorse. This was it. With every ounce of resolve she could muster, she pulled her shoulders back, ready to confront the storm brewing in the air between them. Start talking, she said, her voice firm and resolute. She wouldn't let fear rule her any longer. Kevin shuffled nervously on the bench, his struggles with words evident. I thought it would be easier if I just did what they wanted, but it was wrong. Seeing you with Jake, seeing you in that dress, it destroyed me. Then why didn't you stop it? Emma pressed, her heart racing. Her anger clawed at her, desperate for answers. Why didn't you fight for us? I thought if I went along with their plans, if I appeased them, then they would let you go, he admitted, anguish painting his features. I thought I could handle it, but it only made things worse. Spiraled out of control and I lost you. Emma felt a swell of emotions, all colliding like a storm. His regret was palpable, triggering a flicker of the love they once shared. But that love had been poisoned with betrayal. You talk about losing me, she said, a tremor in her voice, but I lost everything because of your decisions. I know, he replied, desperation lacing his tone. And I'd give anything to take it back. My family put so much pressure on me. Stop hiding behind them, she interjected, anger boiling just under the surface. You made the choice to go along with their plans. I know that, he said, his hands gripped tightly on the bench, fighting for control. But I need you to understand. I was scared. I thought they would ruin everything if I stood up to them. I thought I could protect you by running away. Protect me? The word tasted bitter in her mouth. If you wanted to protect me, you should have trusted me enough to fight beside me like a partner, not run behind my back. Silence stretched, and for a moment Kevin looked lost. I know I can't change what happened, but I want you to know how much you meant to me. You were my heart. The words sent a shiver down her spine, reverberating through her very core. Part of her was tempted to crumble, to fall into that familiar embrace of hope. but every instinct screamed to remain firm. I can't just forget what you did, Kevin. No one's asking you to, he replied, desperation dawning in his eyes. But I'm not the person you think I am. It was never about you. It was about my fear of losing you to my family's expectations. I know I've messed up, but I want to make things right. If you let me, I want to show you. She shook her head, the memories of what they had burst through her mind, bright and vivid. Their laughs, their dreams, the way he held her close beneath the old oak tree. They felt so far away now, tainted by hurt and disappointment. Do you think love alone can mend this, Kevin? I don't know how to trust you again. Maybe it can, he replied, his voice steadying. But only if you're willing to let me try. A wave of confusion lapped at her thoughts. Could she really dive back into that pool of emotion? What if this was just another fantasy, an illusion of what they were? Yet, beneath it all, a small ember of hope flickered in the shadows. Just then her phone buzzed again, a new message from Greg. Emma hesitated, the tension of the moment turning rapidly. I need to see what this says, she said, almost to herself. As she opened the message, she read the words from Greg. You have every right to be angry, Emma. But please trust me. They're manipulating everything, including Kevin's perspective. Emma's heart sank into disbelief. This changes everything, she whispered under her breath. What is it? Kevin asked, leaning forward, his brow furrowing. Greg's message resonated within her like a warning bell. This isn't just about you running into my past. It's about something much larger. Isn't it? Emma finally looked at Kevin, her heart racing. I didn't have the control you think I did. He blurted out, anguish again bubbling to the surface. I've been trying to keep everything in balance, not just for my happiness but for what my family would do if they knew I was with you. They would have turned our love into a battlefield. Emma felt the weight of his gaze, the desperation there. Deep down, another surge of sympathy rose, the same sympathy that had driven the love she once felt for him. But the ache in her chest hadn't faded. It lingered like a specter. If what Greg said had a ring of truth, then how much power had been stripped away from Kevin? I want to believe you, Emma said finally, swallowing the bitter taste of uncertainty. But I need to know the truth. All of it. If everything you said was real, then it's time we lay everything bare. Secrets can't exist between us anymore. Kevin nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. I'll tell you everything I know, Emma. Promise. Taking a deep breath, she readied herself for what could come next. Then let us make this count. No more shadows, no more lies. Truth only. As they faced each other, the cacophony of emotions swirled around them, threatening to pull Emma under. But the truth, however burdened, was a path toward healing, a light in the deepening darkness. In that small moment beneath the soft rays of the sun, an unimaginable thought whispered in her heart. Could they emerge from this storm forged anew? With a newfound determination, Emma felt ready to continue the journey ahead, wherever it may take her. But this road wouldn't be easy, she knew that. The path of healing worked from the inside out, and she wasn't willing to walk it alone. With a firm grip on her heart, she reminded herself that this was her choice, her story to rewrite, no matter where it led. And as their eyes locked, both burdened yet hopeful, Emma took a step toward whatever the next chapter might hold, and perhaps hope would follow. But before they could delve deeper, her phone vibrated one more time, interrupting their moment. Curiosity mixed with trepidation, what would this new message reveal? The journey was far from over, and Emma was ready to face whatever came next. Alright, what is it now? She wondered, her heart racing wildly. The message flickered on the screen, accompanied by a pulse of urgency. Time seemed to hold its breath as Emma prepared to uncover yet another piece of the puzzle. Just how tangled were their lives, and how would these secrets ultimately shape their futures? She didn't know, but one thing was clear. The moment of truth was upon them. Let us see what comes next, Emma whispered, ready to embrace whatever awaited her, determined, strong, and more connected to her true self than ever before.